Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Your weekly dose of news and advice that comes to your pocket every single Saturday. Holding it down, here we got Mac, Mark, Scott, and Landon. Enjoy today's show. Hey, it's finals week. Championship week is upon us here. We're going into week 16, and this is episode 84 of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. And oh my goodness, Drew Brees and Michael Thomas, you are going to haunt me for eternity. I don't know about you fellas, but I was in 4 semifinals and lost 3 of them on Monday night, all thanks to Drew Brees and Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara putting up a dud game. I hope you guys are sharing the same pain that I am. Please walk me through this.
Well, Mackenzie, I cannot feel her pain because the only semifinals I was in, I won. I'm going for back-to-back Dynasty champions against one of the highest scorers of the year, the CMC owner,
flex.
Because of course, Mr. Scott of the North. Going head-to-head, Scotty. We gonna get it, boy.
Oh, it is
okay, so
on.
Let's backtrack here real quick, though. It was a pretty epic. Let's backtrack real quick. It was a pretty epic Dynasty semifinals week. It was Landon going up against the guy who literally has the most dominant team in our Dynasty league. Went 11-2 or 12-1. I can't remember.
11-2.
Basically ran the table. Landon got in with a record of 7-6 and beat him handily in the semifinals. And then Scott and Mark were going head-to-head. And, I'll flip it over to Mark to tell the listeners what happened about 15 minutes in to their matchup come Sunday.
Yeah, so hello, everyone, and happy Saturday, first of all. Second,
happy Saturday.
So let me set the carpet down here. I was going in after the Thursday night game with 36 points from the man, Lamar Jackson.
The myth, the legend.
Scott himself got 36, thanks to guys like Lev Bell, Crowder, and Justin Tucker. So I was kind of licking my chops a little bit. I looked at my phone at 1:15 because I was out for kickoff that day. I looked at my phone at 1:15, 15 minutes after kickoff. Scott already amassed 100 points. So 64 somehow in that 15 minutes of football. Scott was already kind of running away with it. And yeah, I wasn't too productive of a team that day, but I am glad that I was bested by a great dude and a great competitor, and I'm happy to see Scott and Landon going up against each other this week.
Mark, you are always just a class act in defeat as you are in victory. Yes, hello all. It is championship week, and I am so excited to be in the ship against Landon. As the CMC owner at the table, I just like to say, Christian McCaffrey, thank you. One more week. Let's get it done. I'm amped up, boys. Let's talk championship week.
Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to start the episode off with a not-so-great update, a non-championship update. Listener League, 2019 Saturday Morning Snap Listener League, we lost in the semifinals against Turk822. I got to just say, hats off to him, man. Put up a great performance. We had a 60-point lead going into Monday night. He had Drew Brees and Michael Thomas, and we just needed to have them score less than 60, and we lost by 11.
Yeah, I hate to
Drew
see
Brees
that.
went ham. Michael Thomas had like 100 yards receiving in the first half. It was not good for us.
Well, hey, he can take whatever victories he wants, but at the end of the day, we still have each other, right?
That's better than any trophy.
That is true.
The 4 Musketeers are still together. We're not breaking up.
The spirit lives on for the Saturday Morning Snap crew.
Well, I mean, looking at this roster, we've gone through our fair share of injuries, and I don't even know what you want to call them. Guys who lost their job. David Johnson hasn't been relevant in like probably half a season. Kerryon Johnson out early, And just looking at the bench, like Ronald Jones, Dede Westbrook were the other guys that we had. Baker Mayfield as well was a streaming consideration. And we started Jameis, paid off huge. But guys like Julian Edelman and Adam Thielen and Robert Woods really let us down this week. And those 11 points, you hate to think, like, what could I have done differently? But, man, like, you would never think I'm sitting Robert Woods down after 2 unbelievable weeks in a row. Or sit Julian Edelman down for somebody else. Like, sometimes you just put the best guys on the field and it just doesn't, it's not enough. So hats off to Turk. Great victory, my man. Really wish you a lot of luck. He is playing against Nick, Big Nick, in the final. Yeah, shout out to Nick. His name's actually Braden. He took down the number 1 team in the league, Scuba Steve. It was a handily victory. I think it was like a 40-point victory. So these two guys are going to play each other in the final next week, I guess tomorrow. And the funny thing is, they have never met each other before, live 10 minutes apart in West Virginia. There's some trash talk going on. There's some pints on the line, I think. And there's only one space for a 2019 SMS Listener League champ. So good luck, boys. We'll be rooting for you. Should be a good one.
It's actually today, Mackenzie. This releases on Saturday, and there are Saturday games and Sunday.
You are right.
So we will be, I think we're going to try to do an hour live stream ahead of the Saturday games, do a start set, ask us anything, just have a lot of fun, kind of like a Christmas show for everyone. I'll be back at my parents' place. And then as a bonus, we are going to do it again on Sunday as long as it works out for everyone. So, it'll be a lot of fun, and hopefully we can help people win championships.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this right now at the episode drop, then, like, hop back on the trolley in a couple hours, folks.
That's what I was going to say. Hey, you listening on Saturday at noon, drop what you're doing. Go to the live stream. Come join us. Come hang out with us.
Yeah.
That's going to freak one person out. I'm going to love it. It's crazy.
Yes, you. We're talking to you specifically.
One other story going into this week. I was up against Le'Veon Bell and Lamar Jackson after Thursday, and together they put up 57 in this league. And I kind of thought, I'm done. Like, it's over. And we ended up coming back to win by 35. So in one of the 4 semifinals I found myself in, I'm gonna get into one of the ships. And the other one that I lost out on was I needed Alvin Kamara for 17 points. He only gave me 13. Hasn't got into the end zone for what is that now? Since week 4. So we're talking the better part of 12 weeks. Crazy, man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So this episode is all about helping you make some tough decisions. Last week was semifinal week, and this week, hopefully you all have made it through. Hopefully we helped you out make some hard decisions, but this week gets even worse. We had some big names put up bad games last week, like the aforementioned Julian Edelman. Jared Cook didn't have a great week. Kenny Golladay didn't have a great week. Alvin Kamara, if you made it through with Alvin Kamara, can you trust him again? So that's going to be a lot of fun to talk about today.
Yeah, it's I think it's crazy for some owners here going into the final week with holes to fill like Dalvin Cook and Chris Godwin, for example. Some guys that we can maybe talk about here. I own both of these guys in one league that I lost in, so I don't have to worry about replacing them. But if you play for like a third place championship, these might be guys that maybe they let you down week 15, but week 16 you got to jump in and replace them. Let's start with Dalvin Cook. If you are a Dalvin Cook owner, you most likely have Alexander Mattison, who was thought to be a potential league winner if something ever happened to Cook. Well, newsflash, he will not be playing this week, most likely due to an ankle injury. And I don't think that Dalvin Cook plays either. So are we really, at this point, going to be putting our championship focus onto Mike Boone? I mean, I'm going to flip this over to the resident Minnesota Vikings trio over here. And
duo.
And duo, I guess. I always think of you as a Vikings,
honorary
Vikings fan, being from the Minnesota region. But, okay, Scotty, Landon, give us your take.
Personally, I mean, I like what I saw out of Mike Boone, but even being one of the resident Vikings fans, unless I'm in absolute dire straits, perhaps I had Dalvin Cook, and this is, you really only have a couple choices to really pick from, and it's slim pickings. I would not feel confident bringing Boone out to win a fantasy championship. I would have felt a lot better with Madison in the backfield, and I think a lot of people are going to be completely sent tilting because if you had properly handcuffed Cook all season, now in the week that you absolutely need him, Green Bay's defense is no joke, and getting a rookie in there, pinning your whole championship hopes that he will at least produce RB1 numbers. I personally, I would not feel good about it. Landon, how would you feel?
He's not a rookie. He got drafted and he was undrafted in 2018, so it's his second year.
Oh my bad. Sorry, I had the wrong running back up.
No, that's all right. As far as I understand, and I guess someone out there could correct us, but so for example, Mike Boone did not get picked up in our Dynasty League. Scott and I have better options, fortunately, and we're not the Dalvin Cook owner. But if it's a deep league, I would feel comfortable if Madison was ruled out and Dalvin Cook was ruled out. The Minnesota Vikings are such a strong running team that it doesn't matter who's back there, they're going to be fine. Mike Boone could be a league winner, absolutely, kind of like how we saw CJ Anderson do that last year. Now CJ did that for some consecutive games, but I know where people are in dire straits, especially if they were a Dalvin Cook owner. So if you won despite Dalvin Cook going down early, I know I won my matchup thanks to Dalvin Cook going down early. So I'd be fine rolling Mike Boone. If both are ruled out, he's a fringe running back 1-2.
I will say the one thing that I think is really going in the favor of Mike Boone owners who are going to be rolling him out is that I have to assume the game plan for the Vikes is to keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands as much as possible, and that usually means trying to run down the clock, run the ball, and hopefully let that great Vikings defense get one, maybe two turnovers and end the game quickly. So I do think the game script, if everything goes according to plan for the Vikings, will have them running a lot. I doubt that they'll be trying to pass as much as Aaron Rodgers will be.
I'm gonna test your temperature right now on Mike Boone, and I'm gonna throw out some names that should be available on waiver wires in your league going into championship week. So if you are in dire straits, and I just want you to give me the name of the guy you would go here. First guy, Mike Boone or Adrian Peterson, who now has the backfield to himself, has seen double-digit carries every single week for the last 4 weeks. The only time he's dipped below double-digit was when Darius Geis came back. So Adrian Peterson against the Giants or Mike Boone against the Packers?
I'm going Adrian Peterson.
AP.
Mike Boone.
Ooh, okay.
There you go.
Tony Pollard against the Philadelphia Eagles, who was 12 for 131 last week. Him and Zeke both amassed 100 yards rushing. Tony Pollard against the Eagles or Mike Boone against the Packers?
I'd go Mike
Boone
Boone
easily.
in that situation.
Boone.
I didn't hear that, Scotty. You're all going Boone?
Yep.
Okay. Wes Hills. Wes Hills, the fill-in, I guess, the head of the three-headed monster, or not really a monster, not very, no one's really afraid of that. But Wes Hills got into the end zone twice last week, presents some red zone, goal line upside. Wes Hills going up against, who does Detroit play this coming week, fellas? Denver. Ooh, Wes Hills up against Denver or Mike Boone against the Packers.
Oh, I'm definitely taking Boone in that situation.
Yeah, I'm not playing Wes Hills here.
Yeah. 100% Boone.
Okay, last one. Boston Scott for the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, they're going.
Boston Scott against the Cowboys or Mike Boone against the Packers.
That one's
Boone.
interesting.
It is,
but yeah, I'm going to say
Scott's
Boone.
been good. I'd go Boone as well, but I would, if it's some kind of PPR format, I might lean Boston Scott potentially. He's been impressive lately.
Okay. So Chris Godwin, Jameis Winston has been on absolute fire. If you've played him in your playoff matchup so far, you're most likely playing a very important game this coming week. Can Jameis Winston continue to throw for over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin? A lot of people in the industry seem to think that, yes, that is definitely in the cards. What do you guys think?
I think Jameis Winston's going to have the worst game of his career in Week 16.
Oh, stop.
And it's going to be a disaster. He's probably going to get pulled in the first quarter, and that'll be the end of Jameis in Tampa.
This has nothing to do with the personal vendetta you have against my starting quarterback in the championship matchup this
You'll
week.
never know, Scotty. You'll never know.
Sounds like very unbiased analysis.
Hey, we're trying to give the people, this just can't be about you, Landon. We're trying to help the people here. So please give us your best unbiased opinion.
I'd probably start Jared Goff over Jameis this week.
Oh, my God.
No, I'm kidding. Jameis is in a smash spot against the Texans. It should be great. He's probably going to throw 3 interceptions, but he's still going to throw 4 touchdowns. They'll be fine. I like O.J. Howard a lot this week, especially now with Godwin out. It could be a between the Rashad Perriman and Justin Watson kind of week. Hard to predict touchdowns. I'm not predicting the same kind of output from Perriman, but he'll be fine. Exactly like you said, Mac. He's been throwing over 400 yards 2 weeks in a row. Why should that change? A hand injury is not going to get in the way of that. As the resident Bucs fan, Mark, do you have a different opinion?
So this is going to be an interesting game because I think they will probably be fighting to take back an early lead from the Texans, and I think it's going to be a back and forth game, a boat race as it were. And it's really tough to say what Jameis Winston is going to be able to do without his not only number 1 but his 1B is out as well. And we saw some good from Rashad Perriman. I don't think he's on that same level as Evans or Godwin, obviously, but they are making better use of O.J. Howard right now too. So I think the offense is as opened up as it could be. Jameis is hotter than he's been all season. Frankly, as hot as he's ever been in his career. And this fact that he's only putting up, 1 to 2 interceptions a game, I think no matter what, he's going to come out on top. So for sure he is a start, regardless of the personnel around him. It's not going to be a running offense. It's a quarterback coaching team.
Yeah, I had heard Andy Holloway of the Fantasy Footballers kind of joke that Arians is almost coaching Jameis into throwing an early pick so that the game script is exactly what he wants. Throw, which I'm totally fine with. So I think Jameis is an absolute starter. I mean, if you have started him this far, you have to keep going. Like, the guy is just on fire, and you got to stay in the flames when he's hot. My question is Rashad Perriman probably the most sought-after guy on the waiver wires this week? Is he worth a play in championship matchups? Just to give you a little bit of an idea of Rashad Perriman and his performance the last couple weeks, he's so far over the last 2 weeks without Evans on the field and now Godwin moving forward, 8 receptions, 183 yards, 4 touchdowns, and finished Week 15 as the wide receiver 1 for fantasy with a 3-touchdown performance. Do you guys think that there's any sort of value in starting Perriman? Even if the touchdowns don't happen, will there be enough volume for him to be at least a safe option?
I'll hop in and say, as far as I think why the floor for Winston will always be very high comes to the same reason that I think Perriman's probably in for at least a decent week. And to me, it comes down to the passing volume. If you want to look at how many attempts Winston has had over the past 5-6 weeks, 42 attempts, 45, 33, 28, 51. If you're a wide receiver in Tampa's offense and now the number 1 wide receiver, that changed pretty quickly. I just don't see how you can't trust him to at least put up a respectable day. because the volume, there's no way the volume's not there for him to at least have a chance at a very viable fantasy day.
I would
I agree with that.
I would definitely start him over guys like Peterson, Crowder, probably even DK Metcalf. I would start Perriman over.
Ooh, DK?
Landon's analysis is just directly very, very skewed this week. It's like his mind can't leave one particular matchup alone.
You are an absolute liability right now, Landon.
Mark was too friendly last week. I'm going the opposite direction.
I mean, I'm happy to test your temperature on Rashad Perriman. I want to hear from Mark first, as he is the resident Tampa Bay Buccaneers
and
fan,
unbiased.
So completely unbiased. I want to hear your take, Marky.
So I've had some. Actually, a coworker of mine has been asking me, shout out Murray, a couple days in a row now, what he is to do with his wide receiver position. Now he's got Darius Slayton, he's got Cooper Kupp, he's got Rashad Perriman. He said pick 2. So that for me is a tough question to answer. So it kind of puts it into perspective, right? It all depends on who you have around your receiver core, and if you're starting 2 guys, I think out of those 2, I think Perriman is one of them. As the number 1 in Tampa, you know you're going to get the volume, and no matter what happens, whether an interception gets thrown above your head as that receiver 1, you're going to get the ball again on the next drive. I think just it would be, no matter what, against a defense like Houston, you got to play that number 1 receiver in Tampa.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree one bit. So here's going to be some tough start or sits coming in Week 16. Are you willing to start Rashad Perriman over Brandon Cooks?
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
I would as well.
How about Kenny Golladay?
I don't know
Who's
if I'd
throwing
go
the
that
ball
far.
to Kenny G now? Is it David Blau?
It's still David Blau. Yep. It's Will Grier, not to be confused with Blau. Will Grier for the Carolina Panthers is replacing Kyle Allen this week.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Golladay is such a proven talent, but it's really hard to say. I mean,
that Denver
Perriman.
defense is tough.
Perriman, but it's a super gutty call in a championship game. I still think Perriman.
I think it might be Perriman.
I'm going to say Golladay.
Wait. Here's one
We got
for you,
ourselves
boys.
a spicy one, guys.
Here we
Spicy
go.
takes.
Here we go. Jarvis Landry against the Ravens.
I'm
Or
going
Rashad
Perriman over
Perriman.
Landry. I'm not touching any Browns this week besides Chubb if you have to, and potentially, I guess, Kareem Hunt.
I still think Jarvis Landry. That's where I'll draw the line here.
Yeah, I think I'm also siding with Landry. I think Perriman's going to have a really good day, but I don't know. I think the ceiling still stays higher. Landry's had a great season.
Okay, 2 more real quick. Adam Thielen against the Green Bay Packers, only on the field for 33 snaps last week. You want him for another shot, or do you want to go Perriman?
Holy. Thielen's
Perriman,
been...
I'm
baby.
stretching it out here.
That's a Buccaneer all day.
I'm going my homer pick. I'm going Thielen.
Yeah, I'm going Thielen as well, with the run game as thin as it's probably going to be if Boone is the starter. You have to think that Cousins is going to have to be looking to the sky if they're going to beat Green Bay.
Well,
Okay.
that's not fair. That's not fair because, frankly, this is a Packers podcast, and you're bringing the Vikes and the Bucks into this, so that's not going to go over well.
Yeah, baby. You see right through me. I was going to put Deebo Samuel in here, but I'm going to go with someone who has been even more disappointing. T.Y. Hilton going up against the Carolina Panthers or Rashad Perriman.
Holy man, that's
Ty,
hard.
I think.
Yeah, I think I know. I'm going Perriman. I'm not trusting Ty at this point.
You know what? I think I'll also go Perriman over Ty. He has been. He doesn't seem right this year, and I think I'll go for the unknown. scary, hard to do in championship week. It definitely takes balls.
The only thing I'll say against Perriman, it almost feels like a trap. Like, you definitely shouldn't be doing this, but, I mean, the opportunity has to be there between, Scotty Miller's out with a hamstring as well, so Evans, Godwin, Miller, all out with hamstrings. You got to think the ball has to go to Watson, Perriman, or O.J. Howard in a lot of targets.
And don't forget about Bobo Wilson.
Oh, yeah. Good old
Big
Bobo.
stash, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels trappy, but I feel like if you are in need, and some of these guys don't have the most plus matchups, the opportunity is going to be there for him, and Jameis is not afraid to throw it if things go south. So why not? All right, guys, so we're going to go over some tough start sits this week for your championship week. Hopefully we can help you make the right decision and get a little bit closer to that SMS Crew title. We're going to kick things off with Scott talking about the tight end position. I know we have some really tough decisions to make this week, and Scott's been back and forth between a guy that is one of his favorites. He has a special spot in his heart, and a guy that he has been finding some recent success with, a little bit of a flash in the pan. So, Scotty, I'll flip this over to you. Bring us through the muddy waters of the tight end landscape.
All right. Well, I find myself in a very favorable position in the way that I have two tight end one positions that could be filled, and I only have one spot on my roster that I'm willing to use for the two players. The two are Jared Cook, tight end of the New Orleans Saints, completely concussion free, and the flash in the pan Tyler Higbee of the Los Angeles Rams. Now, it is championship week. I only get one shot at this, and it ultimately doesn't matter what they've done to this point. It is what they will do this week, whether I win or lose. So we have Tyler Higbee facing the San Francisco 49ers, one of the, if not the most elite defense in the league. I guess Patriots still have it. And Jared Cook taking on the mid-range to, I want to say, almost lower range Tennessee Titans defense. Having a hard time with this one. What do you guys think?
Don't listen to him, Scott.
This
Don't
is
listen.
a tough decision, Scotty. I'm going to try to be as unbiased as I can. I'm going to try to give you the best opinion I can. Whether you choose to believe me or not, that is your decision entirely. Jared Cook has had a great season. He is let's see here, in half-point leagues, he's around the tight end 6 or 7. He's put up 134.5 points, 112.7 points in fantasy leagues, and has been pretty much the epitome of consistency these past, pretty much since their bye week. They started off against Atlanta, and he's been very, very good, but he's been very also touchdown dependent. He scored 4 times in that span, and that's very high for a tight end. He hasn't had a ton of volume, but he did reach 10 targets. So for a tight end, that's been great. And what did impress me a few weeks ago is that Drew Brees looks for him in the end zone. Funny thing about that record that they were celebrating against Peyton Manning this past week, Tom Brady's only one behind. This record's going to get broken a few times. They could zigzag these past couple of years if they remain in the league. So I think personally, Drew Brees is going to want to throw as many touchdowns as he can, and Jared Cook very well could be a recipient of that. They do play the Tennessee Titans. That defense has been pretty middling of the pack against tight ends, so it's nothing to be completely afraid of. Tyler Higbee
they are
playing
the number 2 defense right now against
that
the
is
fantasy tight end.
A little bit
5.4
better against the tight end. Not a ton better,
is all
but a
they're
little
giving
bit
up.
tighter.
It is.
Pro
Football Reference has
closer to
the
8
San
points a
Francisco
game,
49ers.
we can bet
That's what I
that.
thought I saw
5.4
too,
fantasy
Mackenzie.
points
We
per
might have to
game. The
verify
only
that. I thought it
team
was
better
8.
would be the Baltimore Ravens.
Interesting. We were on CBS earlier, and CBS might have some different information. I trust your website a little bit more. Anyways, but these past 3 games, he's put up over 100 yards. He had 14 targets last week at Dallas. So he seems to be the guy that Jared Goff is just dumping the ball off to. And he hasn't scored the past couple of weeks. And that, if he's getting that many targets, he is bound to get in the end zone. And it's not like he doesn't against Arizona because, of course, he scored. But Tyler Higbee is consistency. So what I would say to listeners out there who have a decision like this, not Scotty, if you're looking for upside, I still think Jared Cook has that upside because it's touchdown dependent. Where if it's a full PPR option, I think Higbee will be that PPR monster and still could get in the end zone, and that's who I would go with if you need a kind of a safer floor. If you are favored in the matchup,
Mark, you want to go?
Roll Higbee. If you're behind, go Jared Cook.
That's very strong, unbiased analysis, Landon. And
yeah, I think I would personally play Higbee here, but hear me out. I know that the 49ers are a really, really formidable defense, and there's a lot to be said there. But I agree with Landon in that there's other weapons that seem to be getting the targets in the end zone in New Orleans. You can't always rely on a Jared Cook. Whereas in the last couple of weeks, and I will be based off the recency bias here, I'm going to go with Higbee just because I think the 49ers are going to force Goff into relying on the tight end. I've always seen the tight end position as one where a quarterback can fall back on. If their first option fails, they're the biggest guy on the field, easiest one to find. So I feel like there's been a lot of that from the LA offensive scheme. Goff kind of failing on the first look, finding Higbee on the second. So in the last couple of weeks, you've really seen an outburst of efficiency and productivity from Higbee. And like Lando said, it's only a matter of time until that man finds the end zone. I'm putting my chips in on Higbee this week.
If you combined kind of Gerald Everett's early production and Higbee's later production, they would probably be easily like a top 4 tight end on the season.
Yeah, exactly. It was a really slow first half of the season for Higbee, but looking at it recently, it's that team may not have it all together, but they certainly have a way to get him the ball, and I would keep
their tight
that
ends
hot
the ball, yeah.
Yeah.
So when I look at this situation, there's 2 factors I think that need to come into play, and I think one is going up against the defenses that they've played. I think that has to be taken into account. Tyler Higbee has played 2 of the softest defenses in terms of total team defense, but also defending the tight end position. The Arizona Cardinals are dead last in the league, allowing 13.4 fantasy points per game to the tight end position. The Seattle Seahawks are 4th worst at 9.2, and it's, to me, it's no coincidence that Tyler Higbee had a great game against those 2 teams when you also factor in the game script as well as the absence of Gerald Everett. With Dallas, I think that his output is a little bit of a smokescreen. It's a little bit of a facade because if you watch that game, the Rams just got absolutely boat raced. They got destroyed, and a lot of Higbee's production was garbage time. It was really in a context that there was no real reason to play. It was all for nothing. So I kind of discount that game, and I look to him in tougher games, especially going back against the same opponent. So if I look at Tyler Higbee going up against the San Francisco 49ers in Week 6, 3 for 25. I look at him going up a similar defense, the number 1 defense in the league. The Niners are 2 against the tight end position. Baltimore Ravens, he was 6 for 20. So I look, yes, recency bias trends towards Tyler Higbee, but he's going up against the San Francisco 49ers who desperately need a win, and I would say arguably more than the Rams do. So I get the what's the word I'm looking for? Not intensity, urgency. The urgency that the Rams are going to have to play with their season on the line. But the 49ers have a bye on the line. And I don't like the potential obstacles that Tyler Higbee will have to overcome to have a great game. On the other hand, Jared Cook, that's been your guy, Scotty. He's been the guy that you've wanted to lean on, who you've wanted to cheer for, and I think that he's your guy, and you just need to swallow that pill and forget about Tyler Higbee and play Jared Cook, because since Drew Brees has come back, Jared Cook, 4 touchdowns in the last 6 weeks. New Orleans is the far superior offense compared to the Rams. Jared Goff and the Rams have disappeared multiple occasions so far this year. I think you roll with Cook for the touchdown upside and forget about Tyler Higbee and his usage against some soft defenses.
Well, gentlemen, as always, I appreciate the melting pot of ideas, and now I get to stew on that for another 24 hours before I have to make my final decision.
Before we move on from the tight end position, I know there's going to be a lot more scenarios, and like we said, we are available Saturday. If you're listening to this right now, head over to YouTube. We'll be live talking about your starts and decisions, and then again on Sunday to answer any tight end decisions you might have. But how would you rank Jacob Hollister in that mix? Would you put him third? Is everyone going to put Hollister third in those rankings?
Yes.
Okay, just want to, because Hollister has a good matchup, and it's he's been kind of a hot pickup or a guy that's available on your waiver wire. So don't.
Jacob Hollister hasn't scored more than 44 yards in the last I think it's 4 weeks. So for him, he's gonna have to do something that we haven't seen lately. I know the matchup is plus, but it's
they play the Cardinals.
Right, they play the Cardinals, who we just talked about them with Higbee. But will he be able to do something that he hasn't done in almost a month? That's kind of the question here, and I don't really want to put my stock into that if I have Higbee or, better yet, in my opinion, Jared Cook to play instead.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Are we keeping on with tight ends here, or are we going to move on?
Unless there's any tight ends that are tough start this week that you could think of, I think we can move on.
Cool. I wanted to throw out here a potential narrative for us to discuss very quick. Does Le'Veon Bell have a little bit of a revenge game in him if you made it to the championship week and you're like, what can I possibly expect out of Lev? Like, the revenge game has been pretty serious. I mean, look at Ricky Seals-Jones last week. Guy got in the end zone for 2 touchdowns against his former club. We see the revenge game all the time. Well, sure.
And he's a tight end.
Don't forget Deshaun Jackson with the start of the week in week 1 at the beginning of the season. Revenge games are real.
The revenge games are definitely real. So is this like the kick in the butt that Lev needs to get going? It might be way too late, but he's been fairly disappointing. So does the revenge game exist?
Rip Le'Veon Bell's head off. That is like the Pittsburgh defense is looking like the strongest, maybe the strongest AFC defense right now. I guess you could say between New England and them, like, it is a really close contest. I feel like they're not going to be forgiving for Le'Veon Bell.
Well, one thing I will say is that Lev is trending in the direction of being primed for a great revenge game. Last week, he did carry the ball 21 times, which tied his season high. So he is ready to go. He's angry. And, I mean, with all the drama that happened with Pittsburgh, you have to know that he circled this on his calendar a long time ago. So I do think that there's a narrative that exists where he could come out angry, and we could see a vintage Le'Veon Bell game for once this season.
Man, that would be amazing. I think that it just doesn't exist because Le'Veon Bell has something that is severely limiting him. Can you guys guess what that is?
The offensive line of the New York Jets football team.
Nope. Try again.
Adam Gase?
Adam Gase.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm talking about Adam Gase. I mean, is it safe to say that Adam Gase is doing his superstar players, a disservice? Now looking at guys that have jumping out from his jumped out from his shadow. Ryan Tannehill on the verge of taking over Marcus Mariota's spot in Tennessee, extending himself to a long-term deal with the Titans. That's super impressive. Devontae Parker, we can't ignore what he's been doing in the absence of Gase in Miami. And with Ryan Fitzpatrick under the helm, like, this dude's been showing out. And did Gase keep him in the doghouse too long? Like, I don't know. Another guy, Kenyon Drake, misused, underutilized in his time in Miami. He was an understudy to Frank Gore. Yes, I know Frank Gore's had a very storied career, but I mean, you can't discount what Kenyon Drake is doing in Arizona, taking over David Johnson's role, having a 4-touchdown performance last week. I mean, Tannehill, Drake, fantastic seasons. Devontae Parker as well, all under Gase, all didn't perform with him. I think you gotta kind of say, like, is Adam Gase really worthy of being a head coach? He's not been doing anything solid with the Jets, and I think Le'Veon Bell's really been hurt because of some of the decisions and schemes that Gase has been running.
Wow. Scotty, would you like to chime in on this? I'm going to just stay quiet.
As a Lev Bell owner in my championship week, I will also be starting Adrian Peterson, but I will be starting Lev Bell. It's just one of those situations where I have some other running backs on my roster. Hey, even Boone in Minnesota is available, but I do have faith in Lev Bell. And the reality is he has not been spectacular by a long shot, but at least the past few weeks, he hasn't been that bad. You hate to say he hasn't been that bad, but he put up 9.8 last week. Like I said, he had 21 carries. Something like 87 yards. I do think he has the upside potential. And with a name like Lev Bell, he will always have the upside potential. And I just don't want to be the guy who benches Le'Veon Bell in my championship week for a prayer like Boone, and he goes off for 25 or so, and I'm left with like 6.5 because I tried to get cute when I've started him every other week of this regular season.
I was going to say, so 6.5 is only going to be like maybe 2 points worse than what Lev's going to be.
We will see. We will see.
All right, so before we go here, just wanted to mention good luck to Turk and Braden in the final of the Listener League Championship. We're both pulling for you guys, or we're all pulling for you guys. So it should be an entertaining finish. If I had to put my money on somebody, I think it's going to be Turk's team. He's been solid, but Braden's been hard on the comeback, so I'm interested to see how this one goes down.
And if this is the last you hear from us from before the big holiday season starts, we hope you have a fantastic end to 2019. Thanks so much for tuning into us week after week, subscribing, liking, getting on board with all our content. That's what we need to stay afloat, guys. We love you.
If you are listening to this on Saturday around noon Eastern Standard Time, stop what you're doing. You can come back to this video later and go check out the live stream. We will be live on YouTube from 12 to 1 hour before kickoff, answering your start sit questions for Saturday and Sunday as well. We will be doing it live on Sunday as per usual. So a little bit of a different week here with football on a Saturday. I don't dislike it. I wish this was a regular thing. But if you're listening at noon, come hang out with us on Sleeper. We will put that out on Twitter at SMS_fantasy. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. Holiday season is upon us, and it's week 16. Let's go get those SMS titles. Cheers. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at SMS_fantasy. Support this independent podcast at patreon.com/Saturday Morning Snap.